I remember the day the storm took me by surprise, as if it were yesterday. It was a humid summer evening in the late 70s when I decided to take my loyal German shepherd, Sam, for a walk in the dense forest near our isolated cabin in Northern California. The day had been sweltering, and the overcast sky promised a cooling relief. The forest had always been a sanctuary for me, the kind of place where I could escape from the hustle and bustle of the modern world. I had a usual route that Sam and I would follow, winding through the ancient trees and past a small, tranquil creek. As we ventured deeper into the woods, the first raindrops began to fall. The smell of damp earth filled the air, and the temperature dropped noticeably. In the beginning, the rain was gentle, like a soft caress, but it soon escalated into a torrential downpour. The wind picked up, and the branches overhead groaned under the pressure, casting eerie shadows on the forest floor. Sam, usually a brave and stoic creature, became restless, his ears perked, and his eyes scanning the gloomy surroundings. The hair on the back of his neck stood on end, and he let out a low, guttural growl. I tried to reassure him, but I couldn't deny that I was beginning to feel uneasy as well. The rain continued to pour, and visibility was severely limited. I could barely see more than a few feet ahead. In the chaos of the storm, I lost my bearings, and the familiar path we had taken countless times before seemed to have vanished. In a brief moment of respite from the rain, I heard a distant rumble of thunder. Then a flash of lightning illuminated the forest, and for a split second I saw it. In the electric glow, the shape of a monstrous creature loomed before me, the likes of which I had never seen before. It was immense, covered in matted fur, and seemed to defy the very laws of nature. The lightning subsided, plunging us back into darkness, and the creature was gone as suddenly as it had appeared. Sam barked furiously, lunging at the empty space where the beast had stood. I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in shallow gasps. I knew I needed to find my way back home, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the monstrous apparition was lurking in the shadows, watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike. Sam's growls and whimpers only served to heighten my sense of dread. As we stumbled through the storm, I desperately tried to navigate by instinct, but I was lost in a world of shadows and fear. Each flash of lightning revealed another glimpse of the creature, never in the same place, always watching us from a distance. I clung to the hope that maybe, just maybe, it was a trick of the light or a figment of my imagination. But Sam's reactions told me otherwise. He sensed something unnatural, something that shouldn't exist in our world. After what felt like hours, we finally broke free from the forest's grip and found ourselves on the familiar gravel road that led to our cabin. The sight of the warm, inviting lights in the windows was like a beacon of hope, and we sprinted towards it, leaving the nightmare behind us. Once inside, I bolted the door and collapsed on the floor, my body trembling from the adrenaline and terror that had coursed through me. Sam curled up next to me, still on high alert, his eyes fixed on the door. As the storm raged on outside, I couldn't help but replay the night's events in my mind, over and over again. The creature's image was seared into my memory, an unwelcome specter that would haunt my dreams for years to come. In the days that followed, I tried to rationalize what I had seen, attributing it to my panicked state and the disorienting effect of the storm. Yet deep down, I knew that I couldn't dismiss the terror that Sam and I had experienced that night. Word of our harrowing encounter spread throughout the small, close-knit community, and soon, whispers of Bigfoot and other creatures of legend filled the air. Some believed our story, while others dismissed it as a tall tale born of fear and an overactive imagination. Despite the fear that lingered, I couldn't bring myself to abandon the forest that had once been my sanctuary. It was a part of me, a place where I had found solace and peace. So with Sam by my side, I gathered my courage and ventured back into the woods, determined to reclaim the sanctuary that had been taken from me. To my surprise and relief, the forest welcomed us back without incident. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, as Sam and I walked our familiar path, past the ancient trees and the tranquil creek, with no further encounters with the mysterious creature. The forest returned to being a place of refuge, a balm for my weary soul. As the years passed, the memory of that fateful night began to fade, but it never disappeared entirely. Instead, it served as a reminder that there are things in this world that defy explanation, things that lurk in the shadows and dwell in the realm of myth and legend. In the end, the storm didn't just bring rain and wind. It also unveiled a hidden world, a world of darkness and mystery that I would never have discovered if not for that one unforgettable walk with Sam. The storm may have taken my sense of security and innocence, but it gave me something else in return. A profound respect for the unknown and the unseen, and a reminder that we are never truly alone in this vast, enigmatic world. Through it all, Sam and I continued to walk the forest, embracing the mysteries that lay hidden within and cherishing the bond that we shared. Storms have long held a fascination for me, their raw power and unrestrained beauty captivating my senses. Each time the skies darkened and the first rumblings of thunder echoed in the distance, I eagerly anticipated the spectacle that was about to unfold. During one fateful storm in the late 80s, my passion for tempests led me to an unexpected discovery that would change the course of my life. My quaint house, nestled in a sleepy suburb of Portland, Oregon, offered an unobstructed view of the gathering clouds. As the storm approached, I grabbed a cold beer from the fridge and settled into my porch chair, the charged atmosphere sending shivers down my spine. The storm intensified, the rain lashing down like a torrent and the wind whipping through the trees with a ferocious howl. The booming thunder shook the earth beneath me while lightning illuminated the sky in a dazzling display of nature's might. I was entranced, savoring each electrifying moment. During a particularly brilliant flash of lightning, I noticed something unusual happening across the street. A figure was lurking near my neighbor's house, attempting to force open a window. With each deafening clap of thunder, the would-be intruder timed his efforts to mask the sound of the break-in. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I realized the gravity of the situation. Had I not been watching the storm, my neighbor, a kind and elderly woman, might have fallen victim to this sinister individual. I dashed inside to call the police, my eyes never straying far from the unfolding scene. As I relayed the information to the dispatcher, the intruder finally managed to pry the window open, disappearing into the darkness within. Moments later, the wail of approaching sirens filled the air, and police cars swarmed the quiet street. Officers swarmed the house, arresting the intruder as he attempted to flee out the back door. My neighbor, understandably shaken, was grateful for my vigilance and the swift intervention of the police. The following day, as the storm had passed, and the neighborhood returned to its usual peaceful state, I couldn't help but reflect on the events that had transpired. My love for storms, which had once been a simple indulgence, had transformed into something much more significant. In a moment of serendipity, I had become an unwitting hero, protecting my neighbor from an unspeakable fate. As time went on, my appreciation for storms grew deeper, now entwined with a sense of purpose and responsibility. No longer did I watch the storms merely for their beauty, but also for the secrets and dangers they might reveal. The tempest that had once been a source of delight had become an instrument of vigilance, a force that reminded me that even in the midst of chaos, a single act of courage could make all the difference in the world. And so, with each new storm that raged through the skies, I took my place on the porch, ever watchful and ready to act. For I had learned that in the heart of the storm, the line between darkness and light, terror and heroism, could be as thin and fleeting as a bolt of lightning. Working at the Bar M Ranch in the rolling hills of eastern Wyoming had been my life for the past few years. My days were spent tending to the horses, enjoying the simple yet fulfilling life on the open range. However, one stormy night in the late 70s would forever change my perception of the world around me. A few months prior, a storm had spooked one of our horses so badly that it injured itself beyond recovery. The memory of having to put down the frightened, suffering animal still weighed heavily on my heart. So when another storm rolled in from the west that evening, darkening the sky ominously, I knew I needed to stay late to ensure the safety and comfort of the horses. The wind began to whip around the stable, raindrops pelting the wooden walls and roof like a barrage of tiny missiles. As I moved from stall to stall, speaking soothing words to each horse, the lightning grew more intense, casting jagged shadows across the floor. During a particularly fierce flash of lightning, I spotted something out of the ordinary near the edge of the property. At first I thought it was a trick of the light, but as the storm raged on and the lightning continued to illuminate the landscape, I could no longer deny what I was seeing. A colossal winged creature stood near the tree line, its silhouette stark against the stormy sky. Its wings were wide, hinting at a powerful build. Although the distance prevented me from discerning the finer details of the creature, its immense size and unsettling presence were impossible to ignore. As the storm intensified, so did the creature's movements. It seemed to be stalking something, its wings occasionally flapping to maintain its balance in the gusty wind. The horses, sensing the presence of the beast, whinnied and stomped nervously in their stalls. Determined to keep the horses calm and safe, I stayed by their side, stroking their necks and whispering reassuring words. The creature remained near the tree line, moving with an eerie grace that belied its size. Its intentions were unclear, but I knew I had to stand my ground. As the storm began to dissipate, the creature suddenly spread its wings wide and leaped into the air. My eyes widened in shock and disbelief as I realized it had snatched a cow from the neighboring property in its talons. The creature then disappeared into the fading tempest above, taking the poor animal with it. The rain slowed to a gentle patter, and the horses began to calm down, their ears flicking back and forth as they listened to the retreating storm. In the days that followed, I scoured the ranch for any evidence of the creature, but found nothing. The horses eventually returned to their normal routines, but I could not shake the memory of that night from my mind. Though I never saw the winged beast again, its presence that stormy night left an indelible mark on my soul. The world was no longer as simple as it had once seemed, and my days at the ranch were forever tinged with a sense of wonder and unease. I became a vigilant protector of the horses, ever watchful for the return of the creature that had changed my life. And with each storm that swept across the plains, I would stand beside the stable, my eyes scanning the darkening skies, waiting for the moment when the unknown would once again reveal itself. There's a certain thrill in chasing danger, feeling the electric tension in the air as you tempt fate and dance with the unknown. My friend Eddie and I had always been fascinated by the raw, primal force of nature, especially hurricanes. These wild, tempestuous storms never failed to captivate us. So when we heard about Hurricane Matthew barreling up the coast, we knew we had to experience it firsthand. Eddie and I hopped into my trusty Buick Skylark, a car that had seen better days but had always been reliable. We packed some supplies, not knowing exactly what we might face, and began our journey. As we traveled up the coast, we were amazed by the sheer power of the storm. The dark clouds seemed to swallow the sky, the wind howling like a pack of restless wolves. As the storm intensified, Eddie remarked on the unusual amount of lightning which streaked across the heavens in jagged, blinding flashes. I'd heard that hurricanes didn't typically have much lightning, but the ominous display was hard to ignore. It became clear that the brilliant bursts of light were actually transformers blowing, their violent demise a testament to the storm's might. The wind continued to gain strength, and the rain began to fall in sheets, reducing visibility to a mere few feet in front of the car. The Skylark's windshield wipers struggled to keep up with the torrential downpour. Gripping the steering wheel tightly, I did my best to navigate through the storm, my knuckles white from the effort. The Skylark's frame rocked in the fierce gales, threatening to overturn us. Eddie and I exchanged nervous glances, knowing that we were risking our lives to pursue this deadly storm. I could see the fear in his eyes, and I knew that my own eyes mirrored his terror. We continued to push forward, but with each passing moment, the storm's fury seemed to escalate. Finally, the wind's force became too much for us to bear. The car swayed dangerously, and I realized that if we didn't turn back, the storm might claim us as its latest victims. I reluctantly made the decision to retreat, the thrill of the chase no longer worth the danger we were facing. As we turned around and began our journey back, the storm continued to rage around us. The Transformers' explosions illuminated the night like ghostly fireworks, casting eerie shadows on the rain-soaked streets. I couldn't help but feel a sense of defeat, knowing that we had been unable to conquer the storm. But I also felt an immense respect for the power of nature, a force that had humbled us and shown us our place in the grand scheme of things. We returned home, exhausted and shaken, only to find that Eddie's house had been destroyed by the hurricane. The realization was jarring. Had we not chased the storm, we would have been inside the house when it was obliterated. Our seemingly reckless decision to pursue the hurricane had, in fact, saved our lives. In the days that followed, Hurricane Matthew left a trail of destruction in its wake. The storm had been a formidable adversary, one that had tested our courage and resolve. Eddie and I would always remember the night we chased the hurricane, a night that would forever serve as a reminder of our own vulnerability and the awesome power of the world around us. We shared our story with friends and family, recounting the harrowing experience, the fear and the adrenaline that had coursed through our veins. As the years passed, the memory of that stormy night remained etched in our minds, a testament to the reckless spirit of youth and the relentless pursuit of adventure. But as we grew older, we came to understand that there are forces in this world that even the bravest of souls cannot conquer. Hurricane Matthew had taught us a valuable lesson in humility and the importance of respecting the power of nature. Eddie and I eventually rebuilt his home and our lives went on. We continued to marvel at the fury of storms, but we did so from a safer distance, our reckless days of storm chasing now a distant memory. The tale of that fateful night became a story we would pass down to our children and grandchildren, a reminder of the power and mystery that nature holds. It was my first summer working as a counselor at Goldman Union Camp in Zionsville, Indiana. A sleepaway camp for Jewish kids ranging from 4th grade to high school sophomores. It was a place I had grown up attending as a camper. I was excited to return, this time in a role of responsibility and leadership. The early days of summer had been pleasant enough, filled with laughter, sports, and the building of friendships. However, June 29th would become a day etched into my memory for a very different reason. It started as any other day, with campers enjoying their activities and soaking in the summer sun. But as afternoon rolled in, the skies began to darken, casting an ominous shadow over the camp. Distant thunder rumbled, warning of an approaching storm, but no one seemed too concerned. We simply kept the pool closed as a precaution. As I made my way back to my cabin, an unexpected flash of light cut through the air. It was peculiar because it wasn't even raining. Lightning had struck alarmingly close, around 300 yards away from me, as I would later discover. A chill crept up my spine, and a sense of unease settled in my gut. Soon, kids started pouring in from the sports field, where a frisbee tournament had been underway. I was initially relieved to see them, but that relief turned to dread as I heard them talking about someone being hit by the lightning. At first, I thought it was just the kids exaggerating and letting their imaginations run wild. However, the same story echoed from the mouths of several others, and I couldn't dismiss it any longer. I ushered them all indoors, trying to mask my growing fear. 3 campers had been struck by lightning. The news weighed heavily on my chest, but I would later learn that they had all survived. It was an outcome that seemed almost miraculous. 2 of the kids went into cardiac arrest and had to be revived, but they lived, and for that, I was grateful. My fellow counselors who had been first responders shared their experiences with me, and it was clear that they had been deeply affected by the incident. They were heroes, and I couldn't help but feel a profound respect for their bravery. Unfortunately, not everything about this story has a happy ending. While 2 of the kids made full recoveries, the 3rd suffered severe brain trauma. His condition was uncertain, and no one knew what the future held for him. His family, however, showed incredible strength and resilience in the face of adversity, believing that their child would eventually overcome this challenge. As the summer continued, the camp slowly returned to its usual rhythms, but the events of that day would never be forgotten. The laughter and joy of camp life continued, albeit with an undercurrent of the reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictability of nature. In the years that followed, I often thought back to that fateful day and the 3 campers whose lives had been forever altered. Their stories, a testament to the power of community, resilience, and hope in the face of adversity, would remain with me for the rest of my life. If these tales captivated your imagination, kindly grace the like, subscribe, and bell icons with a click. We replenish our story trove twice a day to keep you enthralled. Your presence has been truly appreciated. Thank you for lending us your ears, and we'll see you here again next time where the shadows whisper and nightmares beckons.